I'm Marissa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freund, and this is The Next Page. Marissa, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am terrific.
Wow.
It's blue sky, delightful temperatures. It's not humid. It's like, wow. It's like living in San Diego, only the earth doesn't shake.
It is a beautiful day. We have a beautiful stretch of weather ahead of us.
Yes, we have. Yeah, it's like I said before we start hitting record, everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. You and I shared, well, actually, I shared the post with you, and then you shared with me that amazing picture from your walk the other morning. It literally looked like you were next to a lake.
It really did. I mean, I looked over at a view that I have had the pleasure of looking at for the last, 6-7 years now. And I thought, what is that? What happened?
What happened to the valley?
Well, yeah. It was spectacular.
And that's a blessing too.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of the things when my wife and I took our little 2-day getaway a little over a week ago, I guess by the time this airs, it would be a little over 2 weeks ago. New York State has amazing scenery. You know, we did not leave the state of New York, and we saw some of the most amazing sights. And I just want to encourage all of our listeners, if you live in New York State, just go outside.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about my post here in a minute, but just the route, because it has to do with where I walk every morning, but the route that I walk in the morning, you know, when I go to the end of my driveway and I go left and I head south, and literally I see the valley and then Beacon Skiff up on the hill and the different colors of the pastures on the fields on the other side of the hill, depending on, okay, is it a hayfield? So was it fresh cut? Is it ready to be cut? Is it a wheat field that all of a sudden went from green to brown and is now cut down and the straw's been harvested? It's so cool. And then the lighting, just the way the lighting hits things at different times of the day. Because I typically do it in the morning, and there's fog some mornings. It's amazing. And people need to slow down and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So my post. So there are people that love to get up and exercise. Yeah, I'm not one of those people. You know,
I have become one of those people.
Oh, you got to teach me how.
It's one of my...
Because for me, it's still like, do I really need to do this? And the answer is yes. So my cousin in Ohio, and I shouldn't say who doesn't listen to the podcast, because I said that before and I got the nicest text from my cousin who does listen to the podcast. So Carolyn, yes, I do know you're listening, and I really appreciate you listening. But I don't think her brother Steve listens to it.
Well, if he is,
and our listeners
write to David if you're listening.
Yeah, Steve, if you're listening, send me a text. But because I had said on one of the podcasts, you know, I'm sure my cousins don't listen to this, and then Carolyn texted me and said, I do listen. I didn't get it. And when I said that to you, you said, no, you said that they don't listen.
Oh, I remembered.
So anyway, yeah, I didn't remember it all. She did. I didn't remember it at all. But you know, she and I have had some great times. I won't just say in the past, we still have great times together. But I don't think her cousin Steve, her brother Steve does. And Steve gave me a compilation of like 100. My uncle used to be a pastor. It was one of his roles. And he gave me 100 of his sermons on a DVD or on an MP3 kind of format. And he wants me to put titles to them. So I listen to these things as I'm walking. So I have something really enjoyable to listen to while I'm walking. I love listening to my uncle, who was really somebody that I truly admired. Passed away some years ago. But anyway, so I enjoy that. But it's like and it's not so bad the first half of the walk. But then I make this turn and I go up a hill. And that hill is just really, really steep. But one thing I noticed, so the other morning I was walking and I didn't want to do it, but I'm doing it. I'm actually quite disciplined in it, which is surprising to me. Because I'm usually not when it comes to exercise. I can be disciplined in a lot of areas of my life, but discipline is not, exercise is not one of them. But I have been doing really well. Anyways, it was kind of foggy. And I'm like, I do not want, I want to quit. I think the reality was that I may have actually had a migraine the night before, which meant that, I usually feel kind of lousy the day after a migraine. Anyway, so I'm walking, it's kind of foggy, and all of a sudden I look up the hill and I see this yellow, like that road hazard yellow kind of sign. And I realized that sign is where I turn around to come back down the hill. And there was something about that sign that literally pulled me up the hill. And as I was walking, I realized this is a teaching moment. You know where you make your turn. And if you just keep your eyes on that sign, you're going to keep walking. And literally, like I said, I felt like it pulled me up the hill. And I walked up there. I made the turn. I felt so great that I had done it. So I came back down, and when I got into the house, I wrote the post.
Mm-hmm.
And so my point is, when we have a goal and we make that goal visible, when we find so if you're not achieving your goals, there's a reason, and it probably is they're not visual for you. Maybe you've never written them down. People say, "Oh, I have all these goals." Did you write them down? No. Then you don't have a goal. You have an idea. So we really have to focus on what is it that we want. Like we had the podcast many, many years ago now. Wow. Isn't that crazy that I can say many, many years ago? Probably in our first year, what do you really, really, really want?
Mm-hmm.
Now, write it down. Get a picture of it. Find, vision boards. I've got a vision board here in my office. It was in my office at work, and probably 3 weeks into or 4 weeks into working from home, I went into the office to get it and bring it to my house. It needs to be next to my desk. Because on that vision board are goals that I have. And they're not just a written goal, there's a picture of the goal so that I can visualize it. So for me, it was just this amazing teaching moment that if you can visualize it, you're much more likely to achieve it. Do you have anything like that you do where you kind of set a goal or you visualize something?
So I knew you were going to ask me this not because you told me you were, but
But that I typically set you up in the middle of a podcast.
Yes, so I anticipated this. So I did think of a couple applications for this.
Good.
Both on like my personal individual goals, and then also things that we've done at work. And sometimes at work we've done things like thermometer type charts.
Yes.
And it seems really silly at first, but we've tracked our goals like a thermometer, and it's kind of fun, right? I mean, to watch
it is. Yes.
You feel like you're in first grade again, but we've done that at work, and it really visualizing where we're at on a spectrum, right? So when we get to the top, then we've reached our goal. Then
right.
Really has been motivating, and to track, and it forces you to really track your progress that way too. When you're using like a visual representation, you can say week to week, like, hey, we didn't move that much last week. Like, let's double or nothing this week. And similarly, I've done things with like check boxes, right? I mean, as simple as just like having a chart. And again, this kicks it back to like childhood, where like I definitely was that kid who had a chore chart with stickers and like the whole thing. And sometimes that really is like what nudges you over the finish line, is just having that visual representation, whether it be like at your desk or in your agenda or on your fridge. I mean, it's not like super fancy, but those have typically been helpful for me. One thing kind of on a personal level, and this kind of will speak to your wanting to be a morning exercise enthusiast. Recently, and I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast or if it was just a conversation you and I had about, quarantine was taking its toll on me. I'm home a lot. I was home a lot before, and now I'm home a lot, pretty much all the time. So it was really wearing on me because I'm always home, and I was looking for ways to have some like better self-care routines. And I think I told you that I was working on my list of like what my ideal day would look like, or things that I know make me are good investments in myself. So I recently started waking up, and we also all know that I am not like the most, I like being a morning person, but waking up is hard for me. I am a morning person, but waking up is hard for me. I have started waking up at 5 a.m. And
wow.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Monday through Friday. And I do that because I can get in all the things that I need to do to feel like I am ready to tackle my day at home before my kids wake up. And that includes a lot of things, but I have made that visual, and I made it visual before I knew you were going to ask me if I made it visual. So I have started putting my alarm clock, which happens to also be my phone, in our bathroom at night to charge. And that way, when the alarm goes off, you have to get out of bed. I have to get out of bed. But not only do I have to get out of bed to turn off my alarm, when I first walk into the bathroom, there is a big mirror staring right back at me. And so it is my visual that like I am worth this investment of waking up and doing my routine and knowing that my day will be better because of it.
That is priceless.
And I know that sounds it sounds like so cheesy, but it has worked awesome for me because it is the visual representation of like acknowledging that you are worth it, and like you know, exercise is part of my morning routine, and it is not because I want to look a certain way. It is because I want to feel a certain way, like as I go on with the rest of my day. And this has been something that I've been trying to do for a long time. I've been telling you for probably 4 years that I want to be like done with a lot of things before my kids wake up. But now this has seemed to really help me.
That is awesome. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love the examples. So the tools, you really kind of took us down a path of how do we set ourselves up for success? And moving the alarm clock into the bathroom was perfect. You know, I remember when I was working as a tool and die maker, and I was getting up really early, and there were mornings when I would turn my alarm off and not even know it and fall back to sleep.
That is me. That would be me.
So I literally had to move it off the nightstand and across the room. Yeah. So that I had to get out of bed to do it. That is a great example. And I love how it's visual, and you have the looking at yourself in the mirror is the reminder that yes, you're worth this effort, this thing. And I love the fact that you get up and you're moving around, and the energy you set your day up for success. You know, in my post that went out this morning, I said that I really felt like quitting. You know, I didn't need, and I could have made all kinds of excuses to why I didn't need to walk all the way up the hill. Right. But I knew that if I would have allowed myself to quit and not gone to that sign, the rest of my day I would have been a quitter. And there's nothing worse than feeling like a quitter. There's some interesting things about why this works when we make our goals visible or visual, when we can visualize them, or we found a way to visualize what it's going to look like. You know, one of them is that it activates our creative subconscious. So we see this picture of what it is we want to achieve. And one of the things that I think I might have talked about this in a podcast years ago, but you know, if there is a goal that you want to achieve and it's really important to you, and you write it down, just read that goal to yourself every morning and every night. And you really begin to activate your subconscious mind to look for resources that you're not even aware are there, because our brains are firing on things that are in our conscious mind. But our subconscious, our preconscious mind is seeing all of these things. And if we truly are looking at that goal enough, our subconscious mind starts looking for resources. so this process actually programs our brain so that success in that goal is almost guaranteed, because we start thinking more about what it is we want to achieve. We start thinking less about the things that get in the way. I know we have talked about this in the past, but it activates the law of attraction. Where resources just seem to be drawn to us because we're thinking about these things. It's a primary focus in the morning and at night, I'm not smart enough to know what's happening in my brain. Probably if I knew it was happening in my brain, it might be really scary. But think about if when you go to bed at night, you're thinking, you just think through your goals. Your brain can work on those goals while you're asleep, because our brains do things. One of the things that we do know happens is that during the night, or when we rest, or when we take a break from when we really have to focus on things, our brain is storing data in the right compartments. So wouldn't I want my brain to be working on ideas that are in keeping with my goals when I'm sleeping? Think about the times you wake up in the morning, you have an idea. Well, that idea happened for a reason. And it was percolating while you were sleeping, and you wake up and, we should try this. Yeah. The other one, did you want to say something? Okay. The other one is it builds an internal motivation. We see it where there's a greater motivation. That sign pulled me up the hill. And now I've started looking at different things on the hill. So, because I've gone a little bit beyond the sign. All right, so there's this interesting street sign or a house marker, where they put the number of the house. I live out in the country, so everybody just has a mailbox with their name on the mailbox. Well, these other people, they put their house number on this really nice sign just a little bit further. And then this morning when I took the walk, I realized that for some reason, there was an orange construction cone that was there. And then I realized when I got up closer, they must be having some work done at their house. So they've got it there marked so different kinds of vendors can come in and deliver product. But really, just those four things: it activates our subconscious, it programs our brain, it activates the law of attraction, and it builds internal motivation. And if you think about it, that's the problem. We stop achieving our goals because we're not motivated. Something became more important. Well, don't let it. And the way you don't let it is by making things very, very visual. How do you think we can use this to our advantage with our family? What do you think?
Just kind of, it can be useful as a way to get everyone on the same page when there's a visual involved. If you even think back to when I did my fall bucket list podcast.
Yes, I was wondering, is she going to bring up the bucket list? Because that's really what this is.
Right. It was something that was incredibly visual. It was a really nice, like a big piece of paper that we had printed at like Staples or something like that. And I had designed it with like fun fonts so that the kids would think it was really fun. And we put it right in our kitchen. Like you can't miss it. You couldn't miss it. And we, if we were sitting on the couch or something, turn our heads, there it is as a reminder, like we have these goals. Essentially, that's what that was a list of things that we wanted to do before one of the most beautiful seasons in our area was over.
Yes.
And the girls, Lena can't, neither of my girls can really read, but Isla would go and she'd stand under it and say, what are we going to do this weekend? And it was a great way to bring everyone together. And it's something that we've started doing with Isla as well, my 4-year-old, for like her morning routine. So what she needs to do with, in the morning, like make her bed and brush her teeth and, when she has her quiet time in the afternoon and all that kind of stuff to keep her on track.
That's super.
Yeah, I think I wish I did more of it with my family, like more. We have a colleague at MACNY, Martha. She and her family, she's got 4 kids. They and they're all grown and out of the house. They do like a big goal setting thing annually. Maybe we can get Martha to come and tell us about her.
And they have, and I think they have a vision board for their family that I think they put on the fridge or something.
Yeah, I think like each family member has their own like goal tracking board or something like that.
Wow, that is so
I know.
cool.
I always think I need to talk to them and figure out how they, I mean, a couple of the kids are in their 30s. 3 of them might be now. So, I mean, they've been doing this for a while.
That's, and that's awesome. And that's why we achieve certain things when we can systematize it and find a way. So one of the notes that I had here was creating goal pictures. So you kind of do that with your bucket list that you have. But, think about, okay, what is it we'd like to achieve? And now find a way, don't just write the goal, but have a picture of yourself in the goal. One of the things I saw was, and I almost hesitate to say it because it's very shallow, but if your goal was to buy a new car, go take a picture of yourself with the car.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of shallow and self-centered. But if your goal is, to, if your goal would be that, okay, I want to take this family trip, so find some pictures of where it is you're going to go. And it's so easy today on a computer to just overlay your picture on it, and then as the family works toward saving money or preparing for it, whatever it might be. And I think a family vacation is critical. I think it's really important and it's really expensive sometimes. So you may have to save a year for that type of thing.
And use a thermometer chart to fill in your...
Use your thermometer to save the money and show, hey, yes, in fact, we didn't go out to dinner like we wanted to, but we moved the needle on the thermometer. I remember my family and I, we had one of those once in a lifetime trips, and it was to take our family to Europe so they could see where my wife was born and where she grew up. And that, I mean, we knew it was, and for years that was a dream, but over time we were able to make that a reality. So I think creating goal pictures are great. Another note that I saw here when I did a quick search was create a visual picture and then an affirmation statement for it as well. And I think one of the things you touched on that when you said you get up in the morning, you go into the bathroom, you look at yourself in the mirror, and you're actually saying an affirmation statement to yourself. That's why you're doing it. And it feels good to see yourself make that statement and realize you're investing in you. That's why that's so powerful. And that's why you keep doing it. And so one of the questions would be, so what do we do when we fail? So if we've got a thing where, okay, we do this every day, you just start over. After I had to have my tooth extracted, it was a little harder to get up the hill, so to speak. And so there were a couple of days I didn't do the full hill, but it was an intentional thing that, listen, I'm going to go to this house today. The next day I went to more, the next day, so that within a few days I was back up to my normal spot. So you just, again, it's the goals. If you don't have it, you don't achieve it. If you don't have the goal and it's not written down and it's not documented, and you don't have a picture in your mind of what it is and make that picture tangible somehow, you won't achieve it. And when I think a lot of the reasons, when I think of the goals in my life that I never achieved, those were the reasons, because they really weren't goals. They were just ideas. And the same thing happens with our companies, our organizations. If our board gives direction to a senior leader who rolls out a bunch of goals, and those goals get given to people and the people don't understand the how, the why, the what, they don't get achieved. But if the senior leader inspires the people to have a vision for what can be and comes alongside them and helps them develop the tools to track, to measure, like we do with the thermometers, when we would do one of those events and we didn't have a thermometer, I'm like, where's the thermometer? I want to see the progress. It's critical. So I can't go and dig up my orange sign because the town of Onondaga would be really upset with me if I did that, to share with people, but go get your own sign. Just don't dig it out of the ground. Find a way to make it. And, do some searches. Best tools for goal setting. Go back through our my posts over the last, I don't know how many years now. A lot of years. It's gonna be 4 years in October, won't it?
I think, yeah.
That's crazy. But we've talked about goal setting in some of those. We've got some podcasts where we talked about the law of attraction in one of my podcasts, so our podcast rather. So people should just go back and do some research. You want to know what we're talking about next week, don't you? I don't know. I have an idea.
Okay.
But it might change between now and next.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you think we should share?
No. I liked the reminder that you gave in the beginning of the podcast that if you live in central New York right now and are experiencing some of our best weather, that get outside.
Get outside and I know what I was going to say, but I didn't write it down. So as our listeners start thinking about the fall, start thinking about late summer, getting into whatever back to school looks like, use goals as a way to establish some sort of forward momentum in a time when things might seem to be stopping you. If you can just bucket lists. I was thinking about your bucket list, and I'm thinking about probably everything that's on your bucket list you could still do this year. If I remember your bucket list. So don't buy these excuses that we can't do stuff. Stop saying I can't and look for what you can. And then you're going to achieve some amazing goals. That's all.
All right.
So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.